What's up, everyone? So today I'm going to be taking you guys through a tier list of the most attractive muscles and what you should be training and prioritizing in order to actually make an attractive physique that's focused on looks maxing versus a bodybuilding powerlifting physique. So there's going to be a little bit of nuance um, to some of these points, but without further ado, let's get straight into it. First one, we have calves. Um, Really, there's nothing more to say other than it's pretty neutral. You don't want to have calves that are too big, or you're just going to start looking kind of bulky and unproportional. And if they're too small, you're just going to have a weird look. So as long as you're within normal range, you're totally fine. Quads, it's the same thing. You don't really need to worry about training your quads unless they're too small. And if they're too big, it goes the other way too. So those are C tier. Hamstrings, same thing. There's less of a negative to training hamstrings versus quads just because quads can make other parts of your body look smaller, if you know what I mean. And quads will also start to pop out more, whereas hamstrings give you more actual density from the side, which could be more beneficial than quads. Glutes, it's sort of the same thing with hamstrings. You don't really need to prioritize legs at all. It's really, unless they're really small, you don't need to think about legs too much. That's just the reality. If you want to do well in bodybuilding, that's different, but actually looks maxing and getting an aesthetic physique is totally different. So abs, this one is, A tier, S tier. I think it's S tier just because it's a trademark of an attractive physique. Now, you're not going to see someone's abs just because they're being covered by shirts. But when it does come off, it just really takes that attractive face or that appeal to women to the next level. It's the first thing the eyes go towards. So I think it has to be S tier. Then now we have obliques. Obliques are going to be D tier because this is one of the muscles that you should actually avoid training because it's just going to make your V taper worse because it's just going to thicken your waist. So don't want to do any weighted oblique exercises. Now I will preface this by saying if you sort of get sort of the, upper oblique really more serratus is what I'm referring to, that's going to give you a much more, aesthetic appeal at a higher body fat percentage. So training abs with weight is actually extremely important because you can sort of appear to be at a lesser body fat if you have more muscle in the abdominal region, but you don't want to add any actual thickness to your obliques because it's just going to ruin your taper. Next, we have, I think we're calling this one lower back. So lower back is really with legs. It's never really going to get any appearance. No one's going to be seeing your lower back or judging your lower back. So if you're on a bodybuilding stage and you're posting on Instagram for other guys and you want to show people that you have a Christmas tree in your lower back, that's cool, but it's really has nothing to do with attraction and it's not something you need to prioritize. Next, we have lats. Lats are A tier because they're one of the muscles that are going to actually give you a wider, frame appearance of a wider frame and physique. It's really going to boost your V taper. So knowing how to contract your lats in the gym is going to be extremely important if you're working towards an attractive, Looksmaxxing physique, we'll say. Next, we have traps. Traps can go a little bit, both ways just because, it's your upper back, so you can add some density. It can eventually sort of help give you the illusion of a smaller waist from a side angle just because your actual traps are popping out more. And when I say traps, I'm, more or less referring to rhomboids as well. And the actual, upper trap that you see guys do shrugs with, that's an exercise I would avoid at all costs because especially if you have narrow clavicles, it's going to give you the appearance of this sloped shoulder look. So that's not something you want to do. But if we're thinking about upper back more so, it's not really going to hurt you, but it's not really going to make or break your physique. So I'll say it's B tier. It has some appeal to it, but it's not something that's going to make or break your actual frame. Like, other things we have on this list are like lats, for example. Now we have forearms. Forearms are C tier. I'd say they're probably at the top of C tier just because, when you are, wearing short sleeves and you have, developed forearms, veins, it gives the impression that you're a trained male, and you have a aesthetic physique. Now, obviously, you'll see some of these bodybuilders and their actual forearms have just gone way, way too far. And it's when you start to get that stubby look that you just don't want. Next, we have arms. Arms are B tier. It's the same thing where, getting the actual limbs, better can help you, especially if you're narrower. If you have a narrow frame and you have narrow clavicles, training the biceps and triceps can really boost the illusion that maybe you're a bit wider. But more or less on an actual tier list, they're going to be B tier. Maybe some people would want to put them A tier, but I put them B tier just because, once again, you actually look at, lats. That can actually give you the illusion of V taper. Your arms, they just don't have as much muscle to really make make or break your physique. Next we have chest. So chest, this is another one. It's between sort of B and A tier. I would put it at the top of B tier. Now, the reason why I'll put it in B tier is because it definitely can help you, um, get the illusion of a smaller waist, just because it's sort of like the upper back. You start to, build more chest. It can sort of make your waist look incurved. As your chest starts to develop more, it just starts building outwards, and not just sort of forward. So it can help, but it's not something that is like what we have now in the next muscle, which is shoulders. And shoulders are S tier just because it has the chance to really, actually boost your frame. And it's the furthest it can go because you're going to be seeing the shoulders from the front, more so than the lats. So that's why I put lats in A tier versus shoulders. Now, this shoulders is specifically referring to side delts. If we look at rear delts can be between, bottom of B tier, maybe, um, potentially C tier. I put them in the bottom of B tier. And then, the front delts, you don't really have to worry about them because if you do any presses, they're going to get developed, and the front delts are not really going to do anything, special for you. The side delts is really what you need to focus on. And last, we have neck, which is going to be S tier as well, just because it's the one area that can, truly help give the illusion of more facial attractiveness, on your face. It's gives you that dimorphic look, the wider you get your neck and as you get your neck matched up to your jaw. Obviously, any of these muscles, overdone can start to hinder your physique. And that can be one of them. You'll see some of those guys were just kind of foolish looking. But for the most people, I mean, training your neck can really help you, actually improve your facial attractiveness. And we've seen this in countless comparisons of guys photoshopped with smaller necks versus bigger necks. So that's, the attractive muscles, Looksmaxxing, muscle tier list. Could go into a little bit more of detail on each one of these specifically and how you'd want to maximize your physique. So let me guys know if you're interested in that. But appreciate the viewers, and let me know what your guys' thoughts on this are if you guys, think of anything differently. But thanks again, guys. Peace out.